Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Itaya, and such a pleasure to be here. I'm your host today, and we are going to have a great time. This is the Good Morning Education Show. Please do let everyone know that the show is on. Tell someone to tell someone that Good Morning Education Show is here. And of course, we're going to be having a great time on the show together. We are streaming from Lagos, Nigeria, to West Africa, to Africa, and the entire world. And of course, on the show, we always have opportunity to share together, to learn together, and to ultimately grow together. And on the show, we always have opportunities for you to share your comments, to share your thoughts about the subject matter of the day, or the analysis that we have on the issue on ground, around the headlines and about the headlines on education. And of course, please do not hesitate to ask your questions, because on the show we have deep-seated conversation that can help you to grow on your job and in the world of education, not just for schools, not just for educators, not just for professionals, but for everyone. We believe that education is a composite thing, it's quite wide, and we don't restrict it just to school conversations. And thank you once again for joining. We have our loyal tribe members, and this is to say thank you for your consistency, for joining us, for listening, for watching the replay, for those who don't get the opportunity to join in live. And of course, to our amazing analysts, we want to thank you for consistently being there all the time. Our analysts are always there. We have analysts from Uganda, we have analysts from Kenya, we have analysts from UAE, from Africa, which is Nigeria. We also have analysts sometimes, from the UK. We have people who've joined us as guest analysts also from US. It's also an amazing thing. It's an international show. It's not a local show. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel, like our videos, tell someone, I repeat, tell someone that the Good Morning Education Show is the best thing that you ever imagine and experience within the world of education. And without wasting much time, I'd like to bring up Fee Folufalo to the studios. Thank you for joining, Fee. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Itaya. Good morning to our tribe out there.
How are you today?
I'm fine. It's a beautiful morning.
It's a beautiful morning, I know, and it's also the World International Youth Day, or better still, International Youth Day. So, if you're a youth at heart, if you're a youth at age, if you're a youth in body, we're celebrating you today.
Yeah, it's our day.
Have you answered if you're a youth?
Yes, I am a youth.
Are you sure? There, my eyes come for you. All right, so let's just go straight to the conversation. We're going to have the headline. And today we will be starting with one of the headlines. Thing, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Frozen. So Nigeria ranks 161st on Youth Development Index. This is a ranking that is on the news. What do you have to say about that?
Well, when we consider, when we look at the participation of the Nigerian youth in the things that matter, well, I want to believe that the ranking, before they do the ranking, there are parameters that are used to determine who is on what position on the scale. And we find that usually what we find is um, the reputation that the Nigerian youth has, even within the country itself, is not a very encouraging one. It's not one that it's not a really nice reputation, even though that's not the representation of the entire youth body. There are a few who are not. Well, there are some bad eggs, as there are everywhere, but those bad eggs seem to be giving the entire youth population um, its reputation, and that's not right. So what I would really like to know is the index that was used. And I see that it says one of the indicators, there were 27 and part of it, or literacy, voting. And really, when it comes to voting, we're not trying, we're not doing well yet. We need to get to that point where we all are active participants, active positive participants in politics and in determining who our leaders are. So I'm hoping that next year we do better and that we are way up on that list, next on that ranking next year.
I like your faith. And it says if you have faith, you can move mountains. All right.
Yeah.
So next headline, why commences exam August 16th. So Monday is the showdown for those who are preparing for their terminal exams. Why commences exams on the 16th. Finally.
Yeah, and I'm saying, because I have a lot of young people who are very dear to me who are writing these exams, and all I'm saying is all the best. Go and harvest the A's honestly. Go and harvest the A's honestly, and come back with the results. And I am hoping that OIEC has all of their the ducks in a row, that we would not come back to start having reviews like we did with the UTME.
Reviews. Interesting. All right. So let's hope for that. Next headline is funding. Issue of funding. Infrastructure manpower resonates as Makinde upgrades. This is coming from the Guardian. Issues of funding and infrastructure. Yeah, that's your domain or the mocks.
Okay, so the Oyo State governor has upgraded a college of education to a university. In particular, he upgraded the Emmanuel Alayande College of Education to a degree awarding institution. I don't know what they mean by a degree awarding institution, because even as a college of education, they were awarding a degree. These people that left had, they could say, I graduated from this college and with this degree. But as the headline says, and as part of the body of the news says, that they're now faced with issues of funding, infrastructure, manpower, because upgrading from colleges or from polytechnics, as we have seen the clamor recently, it's not just in the name. It's not just in them changing name and say, oh, we're no longer a college of education, we're now a university. There are other things that go into it. So I'm hoping that this reality, that the what would they be called now? Maybe Emmanuel Alayande University of Education, maybe, or they'll just be called the Emmanuel Alayande University. I'm hoping that what is going on with them and what's happening with them will be an eye opener to other colleges, to other polytechnics, to other institutions that are calling for an upgrade. Before that upgrade happens, or before you begin to clamor for the updates, have you taken stock of what is needed for you to function as a university and have everything on ground? The status is not in the name. We see what Yaba College of Technology is doing in their sphere, and they're leading polytechnics in their sphere. I think they've been leading for 3 years now in a row, I think, or two. And so it's not in the name; it's in your it's in what you produce. It's in the intellectual capability and capacity that you have. It's in the quality of graduates that come out of those institutions. So, well, the part of me says congratulations to them. Another part of me says, well, find the solution to your problems as early as possible, so this doesn't become another issue for the students in that university.
Fantastic. They need to find their solution as prescribed by Dr. Fiyinfolu. All right, the next headline is education sector will collapse if NYSC is scrapped. This is coming from the DG himself.
Are you, at this point, I say, are you kidney me. Like seriously, before the NYSC scam started, people were going to school, they were graduating, and they were taking up jobs. It did not
Yeah,
collapse
but
the
it's not
sector.
saying that people won't go to school, but the word is that the sector will collapse.
It says the education sector will collapse.
That's
I
that's
think
that's
that's
just rubbish.
overreaching.
Hi,
That's
good morning,
That
that's
guys.
actually
really
made
overreaching.
KK to join us. Oh my
Honestly,
God, see headline
you can't
power,
believe it.
Yeah.
the power of headline. KK to the rescue! Go go, our KK.
Good morning. I mean, I saw that and I'm like,
Good
huh?
morning, man.
Huh? Huh?
That's painfully
That
hilarious. Like
NYSC and education
seriously.
sector will collapse. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but
Really?
I think it's because he's looking at it from the fact that NYC seems to be an aspirational
For who?
segment in education.
Eh.
See,
Even
those that are going
when
to
I went
serve
for
now,
NYSC, how many years ago? In 2000, it wasn't aspirational for me. I wish there was no NYSC then. So I can't even imagine what the children are feeling now. It's hard to me. Don't work.
a good number of core members now are doing it because it's compulsory and because they
Yeah, they
don't want
have
to have
to.
issues in future when they're asked for
Mm-hmm,
their NYC
mm-hmm,
certificate.
mm-hmm.
Outside that,
Nothing.
please.
And if you
Yeah,
notice
but
that some of them actually would tell people in their local government to be taking the money, and they're not even there.
Yes,
They've gone on with their own lives. So
yes,
that says
yes,
something
that
for
happens.
the viability of the program. It makes no sense. I'm sorry.
I mean, education sector
eh,
really, no,
Where
no,
does he
no.
get off?
That's nah.
He obviously doesn't even understand what the education sector is. I mean,
I
the
don't think he
NYSC
does.
was supposed to be a precursor for the labor market. So that has,
yeah.
to be honest,
Nothing to do with education, really.
nah, nah. Anyway, cheers, guys. Good morning.
Yay. All right. So let's have another headline, and we have Lagos unveils a co-digital school, and this is coming as the biggest digital platform in Africa. So, Fee, what's your take on this?
Well, when it comes to education, like we mentioned yesterday, I think during the headlines, Lagos actually sets the pace and opening up a platform that can accommodate between 2 to 10 million learners at a go. That's awesome. That's mind blowing. And at this point, I don't even want to is it jinx this with hopes and prayers, and I'm just saying go all the way, and let's see, let's even give this a chance and see how far it goes and the effect it has and the productivity that comes out of it. I'm very eager, well, not anxious, I'm very eager to see the results that this digital school will the effect and the impact that it will have and how it's going to make education a lot better. I mean, these are part of the pillars of education we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that. I mean, what I hope is, as Lagos State itself has unveiled the Eco Digital School, they're actually pointing, not just Lagos residents, but if I niche down into the education sector, they're pointing the educators to say, you know what, this is the way to go. I mean, there are a lot of schools who, during the pandemic and even till now, don't have anything digital in place, and that is problematic because I mean, we're right now in the middle of the third wave, right? And if this extends into September, I don't know if schools are going to open when they're meant to open, right? So obviously, Lagos State is saying to everybody, if we close schools, our children are going to keep learning. So then, what happens to the private sector? So I'm hoping that this kind of takes off the rose tinted glasses that some of us in the education sector have, and just we run in and, and do what we need to do. Sorry to me, why are you laughing?
Of course, you know why I'm laughing. So I'm not going to put myself out there. Anyway, I think the platform has a capacity to take on concurrently 10 million online users.
Yeah, it's
So
fantastic.
it's built with redundancy in mind. Therefore,
Yeah, and I love the fact that it's hosted on the Amazon cloud, right? Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's amazing.
So well done to Lagos State. So
Yeah.
they probably won't get under the heat again like last year.
Definitely not.
Last year wasn't funny for them. All
It
right,
wasn't.
so let's look at another one, and this is FG laments as abductors collect extra 24 million naira on the Baptist school students.
Look, I don't know if I should say this, but honestly, when I saw this headline, I thought, is this election money that somebody is collecting? I'm sorry, that's why I said I don't know. Rotimi, maybe you should edit that part out of this. It doesn't make sense. Delete, yeah, delete. I don't know if it doesn't make any sense. How can they collect extra 24 million on the Baptist students that were abducted? Where are our security forces? We keep hearing about the 290 something students, and we can't find them. They must be hosted somewhere. Somebody must. I don't get it. And I mean, these bandits. Yes, I know that there's a lot that they do, but they're not that clean, right? So there's no way they wouldn't have left a trail. Then Nigeria is dishing out 24 million naira.
Extra. It's extra. It's
Extra.
It's not the
The
main
initial
money.
one. So I mean, so this is a money making scheme. So I feel this has become an
Obviously.
industry that just it makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. Maybe Fee has really amazing things to say about this headline.
I don't have anything amazing to say about this. Nothing amazing. When I saw the headline, it sounded like two people negotiating over goods.
Honestly.
Okay, so the initial amount you paid is not enough. I'm collecting extra. And we're talking about children here. We're talking about lives here. 299 children. If let's even assume that maybe a number of them are siblings, so maybe like 260 families are involved here. We're not thinking about these children. We're not thinking, and somebody is somewhere and saying, oh, did they just wake up and say, okay, let's look at what's the market value of these children, let's add another 24 million naira to it, and then and the federal government is what are they lamenting over? I don't understand.
Instead of doing something about it, they're lamenting.
Well, like Keke said, I think that there's so much miseducation about this issue. So even if there's a foul play, you can't even tell.
Exactly.
And sometimes you're wondering, okay, so how is the payment done? Is it in cash? How is the payment made? And then after that, if you notice, this is not the first time. A little bit after settlement, a little bit after returning the people, another episode from the same people. It's different from if it's a different batch. The same people have done it like it's like a serial kind of occurrence. So I'm thinking that the body language and the messaging from the federal government is not positive enough, because we even hear that some of this amount of money, it's not necessarily federal government that has paid them, it's the families that are paying them.
I mean,
you understand? So the federal government might be lamenting that this happened, not necessarily that federal government made the payment. You know, because some of the parents came out with, even though I think they kind of gagged them at eventually, look, we can't wait for, how long do we want to wait? You're saying you're not paying ransom, but these are children out there. So I don't know. It's not a situation.
In this case, the said parents pay 300,000 naira each for their children. So if that ransom was going to be paid, then I want to imagine that the huge chunk of it came from the parents.
And they mentioned it. Parents came online and mentioned that they paid.
If each parent pays 300,000 naira, hey, my lord, times 299.
That's almost
89. That's what, okay, excess of 89 million naira. Ha.
And let's
Mr.
remember
Rotimi, please let
recently
me to be
someone made a
muted now.
comment about this thing being that some people are just
Hmm.
keeping the children to feed themselves. Like, it
Absolutely.
shows in the body language that we're getting from.
Yeah.
How are we not able, no matter how that money is paid, it can be tracked. Whoever is picking it
Of
up
course.
can be tracked. Okay, I'm done.
They're
I
buying,
know,
they're
right?
buying, they're buying equipment with it. According to the negotiator, it says
Of course.
they're buying weapons.
Of course. There's a black market for that. And, they're just providing funding.
JAM releases 2021 mop up UTME results.
I don't even
And
understand. What's the mop up? When I saw the headline, I was like, which one is mop up inside? I bet Mr. Rotimi, help us explain.
there's hits before inter-house sport.
This one seems to be hit after inter-house
After
sports
it's a house
because
sport.
the inter-house sports have held. We have seen the results, and
Hmm.
then now there's a
Yeah, so
mop-up.
they are mopping. This is the remnant that you know.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
God, right there. Bielsa agrees with tertiary institution union to shelve planned strike.
Great news. Great news. As long as it's not a stopgap, as long as it's not just a band-aid, and it's something that would last. It's a lasting solution. Great
Yeah,
news. I
yeah,
mean, we're
really good
tired of all
news.
this strike.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whatever the
Mm-hmm.
agreement is that they have come to, thank you for coming to that agreement, and please let it make it work. That's
Mm-hmm.
I think a follow-up to that should be that we need to shrink the number of years students spend in university just to protect, because
So
this thing,
you can't.
yeah,
I mean, I don't think you can shrink the number of years without looking first at the curriculum, the different entry and exit points, and saying, "Oh, you know what needs to be done." And do we have a problem with the way we spread this out, right? So, and I do agree with you that maybe, but then again, I don't know. It's just crazy, right? Because in England, for example, it takes students 3 years to go through the university. 4 years is
mm,
plus a master's program, but in Scotland, it's 4 years for uni plus 1 year, which is a master's program. So, you know, then again, I guess I don't know, Mr. Rotimi. Maybe the last year they can make it more of people going into institutions to work, make it a sort of mentoring type program. I don't know, but this
if we don't,
incessant strikes make no sense.
if we look at the short-term effect, I think the short-term effect, it would be nice to try to see how we could adapt that 3 years.
Yeah,
Because even with the 4 year course, a lot of people spend 6 years,
I
5 years without
know.
masters,
Honestly,
and it's tied to administrative bottleneck of
brouhaha.
the institution. So and you have paid for a service that
Yeah.
indirectly you've promised 4 years when the person took up that contract. A
Hmm.
student should be able to sue the university and say, look, I took up a contract of a timeline of 4 years. It wasn't natural disaster that altered it. It was you guys not
Hmm.
showing that you're ready for business.
Hmm.
There must be a way where strike will not always affect, because they're talking about people's destinies, people's timelines, people's
So
planning.
what I think might really begin to work is if they decentralize the money collection mechanism that is tied to tertiary institutions. If of course then you might then have issues of corruption, but I don't even want to think about it. I'm thinking about it as an ideal situation where every school, for example, is able to manage their finances. They pay their staff, they manage their schools. So that way, they're not waiting on the federal government to pay. Because what is happening right now is all of that money is going into a particular account, and then the federal government then disburses it. And that's problematic in itself, or the state government, and that's problematic in itself. So we can do, I mean, if they sit down, for example, and say, oh, you know what, this is how much is coming in, and then a percentage of this goes into federal government as maybe university or education tax, right? So that way, the federal government is still making money from education, but the school is able to run itself. Because right now, it's just a mess. And the amount of strikes, if you think about it, every single strike is tied to what? money is tied to either infrastructure allocation, is tied to salaries, is tied to system upgrades. So initially, it just means that the schools want to do more, but they're unable to do more because, again, the framework within which they're working is already problem, doesn't work. So maybe if we looked at that and actually tell the federal government, get your hands out of this sector, then maybe something would begin to work because they have self-generated revenue, right? And I guess that should count for something in running their operations.
That one is profit after engagement. PAE. Schools are already autonomous, well, on paper, according to federal government. I don't now know. I don't know. That's what it is. I think on that note, we should get into the conversation of the day. Raising Patriots. Sophie, over to you.
I'm waiting to know what it means, actually. Sophie, please take your mic.
Okay, so when we look at the definition of a patriot and just taking it at that level or from that level, a patriot is someone who genuinely, deeply loves their country with the values, with deep devotion. So I think some of the most patriotic people we have in the world are Americans. They have their flags. They are proud of America, no matter what is going on. They may have opinion about their president not being responsive on certain areas, but it does not change the fact that they love the country. The president is just one of them. He's not he doesn't make the entire country, and they love the country. And so we're looking at us as for our education system not to collapse, like someone has said. Let's look at raising patriots within our sector. Not some time ago, while I was still in the classroom, there was a day we did. It wasn't planned. It wasn't pre-planned. It just happened that the kids were supposed to sing the anthem, the national anthem, and they were stuck. And that jolted us, and we had to ask them to write out the words of the national anthem. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. They did not even know it. Many of them did not even know the first line. And so this brings up the question, are we raising children? Are we raising
Hello. Hello, Finn. Are you there? Kiki, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I think Finn
Okay,
froze.
I was thinking I was the one that was frozen.
No, I think it's Finn.
Maybe the internet also disagrees with Finn on raising patriots.
Oh, it's heartbroken.
All right. One interesting thing about the word patriots is if you remove the first three letters, you have riot.
Riot. Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. If we're not raising them, then
So let's take like just a little bit of a cue from that. What exactly do you think is happening with the citizenry? What do you think is the kind of pulse, if you're to feel the pulse of the nation and of course the coming generation? What do you think we're doing? KK.
to be honest, it's alright to me. When let me not even go into the coming generation. Let me even think about myself, right? I'm in that zone right now where I'm wondering, what's the point? What's the point? What exactly is happening here? When I was much younger, my parents would tell us how Nigeria was then, and their hope was it was going to get better. But then it's almost like the level of selfishness in a lot of the sectors is getting worse, right? So when I look at it and think about it like that for myself, it's not easy to see why so many people, and to be honest with you, Mr. Rotimi, even those who we consider as well off, are leaving the country. They're finding ways to just get out. They're finding master's degree programs. They're investing in other economies so that they're giving green cards. People are it's a riot, to be honest. People are just saying, you know what, I can't pitch my tent here, so I need to just get out. And that is really problematic. So I think if you then go back to your directly to your question and how other people in this generation see it, all they've lived with are stories, and these stories
Mm,
seem to just be falling apart right before their eyes. It's
mm,
so it's so they can't even, there's nothing for them to hold on to right now. And when there's nothing to hold on to, then you begin to think about what am I going to do to
mm.
make myself, the place of self then comes out really strongly. So that's what I see is happening with this generation, and it is problematic, to be honest.
Yeah, just before Finn comes back up, it's very interesting that there are three things, and when you look at it, it applies across the universe. There are three
Mhm,
things that I call like the famous tripod, almost like you looking at it and saying, this is the reason for certain reactions. Number one is that when we're looking at nationhood or citizenship,
mhm,
we need to look at it from the people, the kind of people, the people we become or the people we are becoming. Number two, you need to look at the promise. You know, we like to talk about some countries of the world, but things are not just working because they are working. The
mhm,
place provides a promise. It's like another word for promise is like hope.
mhm.
I don't know. I
Yes,
get my point. And
yes.
because of the people and the promise, people begin to make the third thing, which is planning.
Planning.
And by
Mhm,
the education system, it's already almost like conditioning you, even when
mhm,
you don't consciously plan. It's like pushing you around the track. You
mhm,
understand? So the reason they ask you to go to school is not just so that you can read and write, it's because you can be part of that plan. So that's why you find out that some countries' credit system is not just because it's an idea, it's a
mhm,
part of the plan.
mhm,
Do you understand? In
mhm,
fact, if you don't use
mhm.
up credit, you have a low credit score.
Yes.
I'm not encouraged to pay cash
Mhm. Yeah,
in
it's a
some
system, like
countries
you
of the world.
said.
So
Mhm,
and that's what creates that people promise and plan is what delivers to you the
mhm,
system. So when you look at Nigeria, for example, I think that that's where we begin to see the crack in the wall,
mhm,
where we are a people and really we're a people that is scattered. We don't have everything is in cluster. You understand?
mhm.
So you could say you have the hustler as a people, you have the scam as a people,
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
the godly or the faithfuls, or that's religion now as a people.
Mhm,
You have the
mhm.
politicians as a people.
As a
You have the
people.
hopeless as a people. You have the very poor as people. You have the clueless, hopeless, dejected as a people. So we are not one. We are
Yeah.
fragmented. You understand?
Mhm.
And there's no promise. So when you see
There's
everybody
none.
now begins to interpret their promise according to their segment.
Yes,
You
yes.
understand? So some people's
Mhm.
promise is election year. Some people's promise is political office.
Exactly,
Some people's
exactly.
promise is Isimaga. Some
Mm,
people's promise is Jesus is coming. Do you understand? So sometimes when you look at it, that's why people plan. So you find out that those who are religious, guess what they plan for? They plan for heaven, they
mm,
plan for miracles. Look at those who are probably in the political space. They plan for election, they plan for something. And
mm.
that's why we're having these issues, really.
Whew, it is. It is.
Looking at this comment we have, our leaders have failed this generation. I don't think it's only this generation that was failed.
We
There are
failed all of us.
generations that that have been failed.
Yeah,
Nothing is working well. So it's a case of every man for himself.
that's
Naturally,
it.
one would tend to do what works for you.
For
Yes.
them,
And
exactly.
this is what we're looking at. Can we begin to change? Because we see that this cycle is just repeating itself, just as a cycle that it is. Students are coming out of the university, and maybe because in the middle of their program there is an increment. Last week, I think we saw
Mm-hmm.
the university that increased fees by more than 200%.
Percent.
And right there in the middle of a program, there are students there who probably will have to leave school because they can't meet up
Yes.
with that.
Yes.
And
No
then
thought
they
at
get
all.
out, they fall out of that
Ah,
people system, or out of that people set, and fall into the people set of, look, anything that's going to make me get ahead in life is what I would. Nobody
I'll
trusts
do.
the government anymore.
Mm-mm.
And I think
Mm-mm.
this is where we're looking at what changes can we begin to make at the grassroots sector, understanding that even for the younger generation, or these children that are in elementary and secondary schools now, they're already having issues with patriotism. They're already having issues with love of country. It starts from the kind of experiences they have. Parents kind of shield their children away from the reality of the Nigerian system. So you
Mm-hmm.
create for them a mini America in the house. And so when they step out to the to the Nigerian world, they're wondering what's wrong with these people, and they want to retreat into that their safe haven. And everything they hear from their parents all the time is nothing good about the country. Is complaints. It's Man, where can we begin to write this? Does it start from from the homes? Does it start from schools? Is it something that maybe there needs to be some ginger letter written to the National Orientation Agency, like something? Where do we begin to upturn this cycle? Where do we break it and infuse new the love of country into it?
Well, I think that we already have silos, so we can't ignore that. If you want to build it up, they say the way up is down. So we must start from all those silos,
Yep.
interpret something that is common to them, but that drives to overall good. So even for the people who you call scammers and those who are, most of these people, there's a little bit
Systemic
of
failures.
ideology driving them, you know. So we must be able to kind of start creating visible things with messages. Look at some of the things. Let me say that increasingly people are beginning to give a scorecard on the Lagos Ibadan Railway transport system that's been done. Lovely pictures, lovely comments from people. Now, what we need is, we don't just need to commission projects for
Mm.
the namesake of this is what a government has
Mm-hmm.
done. This is what Nigeria is becoming. That's the right messaging. And when we message it, we must make it as loud as possible beyond one man's achievement. It is the good of the common. You understand? So you start driving adverts about get to, and then you start competing that way. Do you understand? Now, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people get to Ibadan in style, but to
Mm-hmm.
leave the train station into town is hell. It writes
Mm.
off the experience of the train. So you're now saying that, which means we are still not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? We're not getting it. That has presented an opportunity for us. Do you get my point?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that if we're able to begin to say, let's create a message. Imagine where we're having these 24 million cards in, and there's a newspaper that's saying FG laments. FG should not lament, because when you lament, it means that
Mm-hmm.
because lamenting shows you are powerless. But right,
Mm-hmm.
imagine you come out and say, you know what? We're not happy that this is happening. It has happened for too long. We're going out to that forest. We're going to talk about this thing. Enough is enough. And you come up with a body posture that says, you know what? Nigeria of yesterday has slept for too long. I, your commander in chief of armed forces, I am not having it anymore. I'm commanding so and so, blah blah blah, to make sure that in 90 days we have a score to settle. No to banditry, no to extortion, no to, and even if you don't do it as you should, let me tell you this: if a leader looks like he knows the way, people will follow that leader.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? You don't now say you're lamenting. It's like say, petrol is getting expensive. That's lamenting.
Yeah,
What are you doing about it? They say
exactly.
a pack of sheep led by a lion is far better than a pack of lion led by sheep.
By sheep.
Over to you, Keke.
That's so profound, Rotimi. I mean, one thing that every time I get into these sort of conversations, and I mean, it's interesting that Finn talked about the grassroots. The first thing that I honestly think about is, why do we keep using almost like a blanket method in the way that we provide solutions, right? If I go to my village, what my village needs is different. What Mr. Rotimi's part of Lagos needs is different. What Finn's segment again needs is different. Everybody's needs are different, right? But then we're looking at the urbanized societies and we're saying to ourselves, oh, we like to be this way, which is what you said about the train stations. Before you build a train station, where is the landing point? What connects people? And Mr. Rotimi, you know, it's like that for almost everywhere. I think it's only in Lagos that it's easy to get out, to get away from airports, and bus stations. Honestly, you know, you get to these endpoints, and if you don't have an Uber waiting for you, even in Lagos, to be honest, when you get to the airport, even to get out of your car to take a plane, or when you get out of the plane to get into your car to leave the airport, it's problematic. So we're not looking at the process, right? We're thinking only of the endpoints. And when you think only of the endpoint, oh, this is what I want to do, who are you doing it for? How are you doing it? How are you even measuring progress? Do they need it, this thing that you have provided? Would they need it in a different format, in different places? So the train in the north, for example, goes through some horrible places, and sometimes it breaks down in the middle simply because what? Somebody has taken away the train tracks and gone to sell it. Right? So there are all these problems. So I truly believe that when we think about raising patriots, right? And if we're thinking of the people, which is what Rotimi said, honestly, was so profound. When you think about when you think about the people part of it, right, we must put them first. We must look to every single area and say, what do they need and how can we provide it for them? And then we begin to empower them within these areas. The reason why there's such a huge migration from the rural areas to the urban areas is because the people in the rural areas don't see that they have hope. They don't see that there is hope, and there's so much hope, to be honest, because it's not like they don't have problems there. They do, but nobody within that system is saying, "Oh, I can solve the problem," because they don't see that. They don't even think they should solve the problem. They just want to go to another place where that problem doesn't exist, right? And then they're going to meet another set of problems in that place, and maybe the problems where they left would have been easier for them because that's their context. They have a deeper understanding of it, but they're not doing anything about it. Nobody is being empowered in that area. Nobody is being shown that, you know what, you can do this. And so that in itself creates, this situation that Rotimi has just very beautifully categorized, where everybody has a category and nobody is able to cross between these categories because everybody's like, you know what, every man for himself. This is me, or I'm going to hang on to God to solve the problem. And so I will pray from now till tomorrow when all I need to do is get work done. Another person will say, oh, I'm going to go, you know, and that on itself, honestly, it's a riot because the PAT doesn't exist right now. Back to you, Faye.
You know, let me just say this. See, if you don't mind, let me just say this. You know, thinking about what Keke was saying. Let me give an example now. You know, do you know that if the government had that unified front, you know, some of the if you want to see quick changes, the government can just say, you know what, we're going to talk to the mosque, we're going to talk to the churches. We need you guys to just do projects. Yes, just projects. Do you get what I'm trying to say? If some churches are allowed free hand with supervision to do projects, guess what? You will see some transformation happen. There are some bridges, there are some roads that have been constructed by churches because they have an ecosystem that people trust and that works. The tax system is so porous that even people are not faithful to the tax system. And apart from that people are not faithful to the tax system, even the tax system has so many leakages. So it enriches the administrators of the tax system rather than the pocket of the nation. So what we call national economy is actually individual cluster economy in disguise, because there are a lot of people fleecing on Nigeria. because Nigeria has not gotten its heart together. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Think about it. Lagos Ibadan
100%.
Expressway. How many public toilets are there? It's the bush. It's the
Yeah.
bush that is the public toilet. That's the truth. You know, I've had one or two incidents where I had to, you know what, try to ease myself. And I just
Drive
said to
ourselves.
myself, what if a snake, you know, comes here? You know, I see a lot of people, they just rush into the bush and they just, you know, bend down. And what if something bites your bum bum?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? You know, and if it happens, there's no hospital. How many
No
clinic,
way.
how many
No way.
hospitals are there?
Nope.
I've seen accidents happen, and I knew that, you know what, except for God, before that person gets to an hospital, something
Yeah.
fatal would happen. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So,
Absolutely.
that, so it's we don't need too many intelligent people in this country. What we need is the force of faith
Action.
and the right messaging. And when I say faith, I'm not saying faith of a supreme being. The force of faith that we believe that this can happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the question we will really want to now begin to say is that I think we shouldn't wait for one collective drive of a mandate from anywhere, because people are doing pocket size of things. It's just that we need to make them understand this is not personal gratuity or fame. You know, think about things you are doing, KK. Think about things I'm doing. Think about what we are doing, right? We are doing stuff. We are raising hope for as little as, even if you are nurturing just 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
We started Good Morning Education over a year ago. We are having analysts from Kenya, from Uganda. We're having guests from US. It's a must. It's just a little thing, and little
Mm-hmm.
drops of water make a mighty ocean. Do you
Mm-hmm.
get? So I think that we need that consciousness in people, and then schools need to ask themselves, where do we come in? And that's really
Exactly.
what I want to hear from Fee and you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was what I first that's what I was saying, that where do we how does the school come into this? And one of the things, or one of the places I think the school can come into this is teaching the teaching of history. When I was in school, I did history, I did government, and I got to know a lot about the country. And getting to know getting to know a lot about the country means the person you know is the person you're likely going to like and likely going to develop into loving. But if I see someone from a distance and I just pass by you every day, there is no meeting point, I know nothing about you, there is no likelihood that I will develop any form of likeness or love for you. I think schools, the part that schools play, what um, the part that schools play should include the teaching of history. Get the children to meet their country, let them know what this country is. Sometimes maybe when we have, I don't know how many schools do it, but I know a few schools do it where they have like a movie day. Are we showing them movies that talk about the country, that talk about the richness of the culture, the language? Are we even teaching the language in the schools in the first place? And then getting them to see where they fit in, not just understanding where the country is coming from, but you as a child, you as a Nigerian citizen, where do you fit into making Nigeria great? Where do you fit into being a part of writing the story of where this country would be in the next 10 years, in the next 15 years? And the more we carry them along like this, the more they see the role that they're to play, the more they see themselves in the country, the more they love, the more they develop that devotion to saying, look, we might have had a reputation that is not okay, but we are going to change the face of that. Look at the story we had recently, the Green Spring students, or was it the Green Spring students that converted plantain to sanitary pads or did something on STEM? They are part of rewriting the history. And if we don't allow them, if all we are preparing them for as the school is preparing them for SATs, preparing them for all of the A-level exams, and just like the moment they get in, they're prepared to leave the country, then I don't think that the schools are playing their role. So in that regard, let them see the beauty. Let them see that, look, there's promise here, and it's not just the promise of, well, one day Nigeria will be good. No, it's not a promise of the future of one day. It's the promise of right now, right here. What are we going to do to rewrite the story? And as citizens of the, even if you hold dual citizenship, as citizens primarily of Nigeria, this is the role that I'm going to play, and let them see that. And for crying out loud, I think we need to see more of our flag on the streets. I hardly see our flags on the streets. Only see it in some institutions, and even in some of those institutions, the flag is battered, is torn,
I know, right?
is
Yeah.
it's just there. And even there, don't care.
Yeah.
They're just putting it there
Yeah.
because they really need to put it there. They don't care whether
They
it's
need to.
standing right or not, whether it's torn or it's not.
It's statutory.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my take on where the schools come in, or the roles that the schools play.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Faye 100%, and I mean, it takes us back to what Mr. Rotimi really said, right? The fact that we need to have faith. You know, all of us, we need to come in and say, you know what, I have faith in this nation. We can do this. Yes, we have all these issues, but you know what? If we look within us and begin to do things, and I would look at it from the education sector as a place of collaborating, right? So we need to begin to collaborate, even as educational institutions, and say, you know what, in this teaching of this particular thing, how are we, what are the objectives of this teaching, such that across several schools, if we're teaching the same topic, especially like you talked about, Fee, nation building, so security education, civics, government, history, even geography, right? All of these subjects, we kind of look at them and we change the objectives for them. The objective is not knowledge. The objective is know your country, exactly like Fini said, know your country and understand the fact that you are part of the country and you need to begin to build it, right from you not throwing dirt out of your window when you're driving in your car, you not walking past the public space and you see that there's something wrong, and then you actually find out how, oh, mommy, daddy, no, look at this, to fix it. So some of those things, by the time we begin to do it, and I'm talking about the collective doing, because where there's a lot of people say the same thing, the voice is stronger, the intent is definitely more visible, and then we can actually begin to change the face of this nation, because it is an amazing country on an amazing continent. But if we never see it and we never do anything about it, and we just assume somebody else is going to come and fix it, then where is that patriotism on the inside of us? Yes, it might not seem like there's a reason, but you know what? We give ourselves the reason to be. Why do we keep having businesses? Why do we keep creating the things that we do, the programs that we're having? The reason why is because we believe in the things that we're doing. So if we truly believe in this country, then the things that we do will take on a different sort of meaning, because we know that it is poised towards building this amazing nation. Yeah, back to you, Faye.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And we have been joined by Olushola Olumide. Good morning, welcome to the conversation. Okay, we don't seem to have
Olushola here right now.
We don't have
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi, Olushola.
Good morning.
Everybody. Yes.
Yeah, and we would like to have your
this morning.
we would like to have your solution to this discussion. I actually am looking forward to hearing from you on this.
Well, you great submissions here this morning. I just want to also believe that as good as it is that we are loyal to our country, I also want to believe that when the country also in a way we feel appreciated, the loyalty will come seamlessly. It's like you're in Nigeria and you are treated badly, only for you to step out of the shores of Nigeria. Even though you are a foreigner, you are accorded a better treatment. Your heart gravitates towards the other country naturally. And I will only suggest that we shouldn't give up the voice may be in the minority. However, even if it is only one person we can convince to be patriotic, like I think Mr. Rotimi said, we have been having good morning education show. People are joining by the day, and the tribe member keeps increasing, and people are learning one or two things. If we give up, we only join the population of the unpatriotic. Really, it isn't easy. I tell you, there are places you get to, and the way you are treated by your, fellow citizen, the system is not helping. Unfortunately, you don't even have anywhere to report to, because even if you go to some quarters, they'll be looking at you and say, "Sorry, are you a stranger here? I beg you, waiting they ask you, make you do." Stuff like that. It could be painful, but we have no other nation. This is our country, and if we give up, it doesn't translate into solution. So we should keep at it and getting other people to be interested, and we'll give our best in every situation. Do the right thing. I see that as patriotism, irrespective of what people say, who accepts me, who feels I'm strange, and I've had to suffer certain things for going my right just because I chose to do right. In fact, I have been mobbed for telling students not to cheat in the exam. I was literally stoned, but I won't change my mind. That is my value. And I am free of charge. And I will tell them, if you have it at the back of your mind going to the exam to go and cheat, leave my class and go. Don't let me waste my sweat on you. I am doing this so that
Okay. Um,
and I
it's
believe by and by we'll get a lot of people to come on board to be in love with this country and give their best every time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And one of the things that he said that I'll pick on is the part of preparing the students for the right values. Like he said, he tells the student, if you're coming, if what you have at the back of your mind is that during test of exams you're going to cheat, then don't bother come to the class. Don't let me waste my energy on you since you have decided to go that route. And I think whether it's popular opinion right now or not, those things pass across a message. And these are the people, these are the leaders for tomorrow that we're grooming. Like I always say that every country, our leaders came from us. So we groomed them, we raised them. Whatever we're seeing is the work of our hands. And yeah, so, let's keep passing across those values. It's catching on, it's catching on, and eventually we would see the grand results. I think we'll just go around to take final closing remarks on this topic.
Okay, I think just like the topic says, raising patriots. It's not an issue of past tense. It's a mandate that is continuous. So we need to understand that it's a duty we must be dedicated to. We are like farmers. Our goal is to plant the seed, water the seed, nurture it till it grows, because that's how we do our nation is a service, that we don't want to have a nation that is worse off. We make sure that we leave the nation better than we met it. That's the goal. So
And amen to that.
everybody out there must recognize that it's raising patriots,
Hmm.
and we
Hmm.
should do so.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, for beautiful Rotimi. So as Rotimi was speaking, I thought about Omobola's book, which is Building an Actionable Difference. That book just came
Yeah.
to my head, right? And the fact that building it's hard work, it's hard work. And that's what raising patriots are. It's nation building, right? And it's hard work, but it's progressive work, right? So, and it takes every single person. When you go onto the building site, you don't see some people lazing around and just faffing. No, you actually see them building. They might take a break, when it gets too much, but they come back to it. They don't take a break and say, you know what, I'm done. No. So even if we're not 100% happy with what we see right now, but we're not going to just say we're done. No, we can't afford to, right? So we're going to say, you know what, this is our country, this is our Nigeria. We're going to keep building, we're going to keep putting our hands and keep lifting up this country, because we know that eventually it will be a difference, and it's actionable because every single person is being the patriot that they're meant to be. So it's not one person, it's not just Mr. Rotimi or myself or Fee. No, it's every single one of us. And if you're listening to this, that includes you. It's you putting your hand out and saying, you know what, I'm going to lift Nigeria up. It might seem like it's nothing, but guess what? If all of us are doing it, then it becomes a force that needs to be reckoned with. Thank you so much for this really amazing topic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Ms. Olushola Olumide, please let's have your closing remark on this.
Yes, thank you very much. A great one there from Madam Kiki. I want to believe if each one can reach one, each one can teach one. By what we say, by our body language, what we exude, and everywhere we go, let's show that we are patriotic. And I tell you that somebody somewhere will have a change of mind, seeing us giving our best to make Nigeria a better place. We'll keep raising and we'll keep pushing. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And from me, I would say that for those of us who are in the place of showing examples, let's show the right examples. It doesn't matter whether it's popular or not, but it's the right thing to do. Please do it. You can never tell who saw you or who is watching you and has learned something from that. So good is always good, regardless of the popularity or not. And that's about the size of our show this morning. I feel.
And then, of course, we have the special needs summer camp for educators powered by Cadet Academy, Oladnike. I think we'll just have a quick video before we do a sign off on that, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a great one.
That's really loaded. And I think we should just round off on the final this morning when Mr. Itai was talking about giving a dummy speech of what a president who is in charge would do. I was actually seeing a picture of Nigeria. I was kind of imagining on NTA, we'll see our president saying, no, enough of this, we're not taking that. By so and so time, we are going to
look at Rwanda. Look at the Rwanda example. It's fantastic what they're doing in that country.
That's so encouraging, and we will get there. Everyone just needs to do their part. We will get there. And with that, we're running off our show this morning, and we're running off in our usual style. Yes, and with a dance. With a dance. All right, let's take it off this morning. Yeah, it's always
a great morning.
Good morning.
Education.
Good morning, education.
Bye.